I'm back here with Dunstan McNichol of the Star Ledger, the outstanding expert on pensions in New Jersey for those of us that are really interested in it. As I mentioned to you in the previous comment, the whole Institute is coming out with a policy statement dealing with the pension system in New Jersey, and we've been, for the last 3 years, had on our website a whole series of articles showing the difficulties not just in New Jersey but throughout the country as we become older and as we really haven't kept an eye on where our assets are. I'm a new governor, and I'm sitting down in Trenton, and I say, my gosh, this guy McNichols here McNichol really looks like he knows what he's talking about. And I'm going to invite him in and ask him, what do I do knowing the situation that I have?
Well,
what do you advise?
Our current governor, Governor Corzine, is fond of saying when you're in a hole, the first thing you want to do is stop digging. Pension fund is in a big hole, and unfortunately, the governor tossed another shovel down to the mayors there in November when he offered them the opportunity to stop making half their payments this year.
Are they ever going to have to pay that back?
Yeah, in theory they will. I wouldn't. But that's the first step, is to recognize that it's a bitter pill and it's not a priority that anybody really wants to see in the state budget except members of the pension system, the unionized members who have their benefits reliant on that fund. But you got to stop shortchanging the fund before you can ever hope that it's going to get back in balance. I think that's the hardest step, and that's the first step. And really, it's been more than a decade since anyone has taken that step, and until somebody does, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And then the alternative is you can let the debt get bigger and bigger and bigger, so that instead of having a required annual contribution of $2 billion, which the state had this year, your required annual contribution will be $4 billion or $8 billion. And eventually governor will say it's unrealistic to put money in, to dedicate that much money to a pension system. We've got to tell people that the benefits just aren't going to be paid. We've got to adjust the payout.
Can you adjust benefits for those people that are collecting? Is that legal?
There is a opinion from the Office of Legislative Services again that says that anyone who has been an employee for 5 years enrolled in the pension system is by law requires entitled to the benefits at the levels that they're in place when they hit that 5 years. That would be one of the first things that would have to change before you could go about a wholesale change and revocation of benefits. But I think at some point, and it's not a point that's a mile away at this point. I mean, I think you're talking a number of years. You're probably talking a decade or more. But it's a point that's out there that someone is going to have to seriously say there's an unsustainable level of benefits promised, and we've got to change the promise. Just to put that in black and white, there was when the pension fund peaked at $86 billion, the annual pension benefits, they paid out $3 billion a year. Today, it's down at $57 billion, and every year they pay out about $5.4 billion a year. So the annual cost of what that fund has to support goes up by a sizable amount every year.
How much of that is the fact that people are allowed to have medical coverage for the rest of their lives?
That's a whole separate thing. That's a different
Is that cost
$50 billion. No.
So that's not included?
No, that's nowhere in there. They pay that. They pay annually the actual dollar amount of the premiums that come due.
Okay.
And that's another $2 billion a year. And if they want to get ahead of that, the actuaries said they would have to put in an additional, I think it was $4 billion this year, some astronomical amount. So yes, that's that's a topic for a different show.
If I'm a union leader, what argument could people make that I really should go before my people and tell them that they should cut benefits that they think they had?
If I'm a union leader, I can't make that argument. I mean, I'm a union leader who signed contracts and made concessions and agreed to give up Lincoln's birthday as a holiday in return for having these benefits preserved in that contract. You can't make that argument as a union
What do you
leader.
tell taxpayers who are complaining they're already heavily taxed and have the highest property tax in the Republic? What do you tell them about the idea that they...
I don't have anything good to tell them either. I'm like the union leader. I'm saying it all comes down to a lot of opportunities for political will that the political will wasn't there to do what would have been an uncomfortable, expensive proposition several years ago. Instead, side detours were taken to avoid that pain, and as a result, the pain gets worse and worse. And it's
do you think that the media that you've spent your life with has really focused on this issue as much as they should have?
I think over the past 2 or 3 years they have. I mean, when I first went to the first meeting of the State Investment Council that I attended, it was back in the first year that Jim McGreevey was governor. So what's that, 2002? They didn't know what to do with me. They met in a nice lodge in Princeton, and they didn't know what this reporter was doing here, and they had to call the Attorney General's office to find if they were a public body and this and that. Now you get New Jersey Network and ABC and a lot of people covering the investment council. So we've arrived at the accident scene.
So you're basically giving us a prescription for tough love.
Yes, I am.
I'm delighted to have the opportunity to really talk with Dunstan McNichol of the Star-Ledger, who is, as I said, one of the outstanding experts on our pension problems. The Hall Institute is glad to be a part of the forum to present you to the people, but also we're glad to be able to contribute our own public policy report. It's not an issue that's going to be solved, as you've said, overnight, and it's not an issue that's going to be illuminated by one report. But hopefully both of us will be doing our part to enlighten the people of New Jersey, and in the process, certainly I have found, enlighten ourselves. Dusty, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Riccards from the Hall Institute, and I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you'll watch both of our shows dealing with this extremely important issue. Goodbye.